So there are three new Intel handhelds that are about to come out. The first one is the Claw 8 XAI Plus, which is scheduled to be released in June 23rd. Then we have the Predator Atlas 8, which is scheduled to release in October 2026. We also have the OneXPlayer 3, which does not have a date yet, but I'm guessing is going to be revealed at the end of this month in June. And I think the campaign in Indiegogo is going to go live by the end of June. This one is quite exciting because it has detachable controllers and an 8.8-inch OLED with HDR. Now, the Predator 8 uses, well, as the name suggests, 8-inch screen, basically the exact same as the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. However, there is something unique about the screen. So if you go down on their main page, you can see that they show, if I can find it yet, so they show here that the screen has Corning Gorilla Glass, which helps cut reflected light on the screen surface. Now, from what I know is that now this is different to what you get on the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus, because on the Claw 8 screen the reflections were very visible. So I'm glad to see that, you know, on this Predator handheld there will be less reflections. But apart from that, everything else is basically exactly the same as the Claw 8 when it comes to the screen. It also has the same 80 watt-hour battery as the Claw 8, so you know it's going to give us a lot of battery life, especially considering how efficient the Intel chipsets are. Now, the Claw 8 XAI Plus seems to be using the exact same screen as the previous Claw 8. Not sure if this one will be using the same screen as the Predator 8, but it doesn't seem to show that it's using a newer screen, so I'm guessing it's going to use the exact same screen as we got on the Claw 8 AI Plus, which, to be honest with you, was not a bad screen. 8-inch is the sweet spot, so that's really good. Now, we do have another handheld coming out, which is not an Intel handheld, but I just wanted to mention it, and that's the ROG Xbox Ally X20. Now, this comes in a bundle, so you will not be able to buy a standalone version. You will have to buy it with a bundle with the XR glasses. Now, looking at the handheld, it looks actually very, very nice, but I'm not sure if I'm going to buy it because it uses the same Z2 Extreme chip, and for me personally, I would love to see like a newer chip. But I am excited for the 7.4-inch OLED screen and the TMR joysticks. Plus, I love the way it looks. So overall, it looks quite similar to the Xbox ROG Ally X. The performance, I think, is going to be exactly the same. You're just getting a slightly bigger OLED screen with better controls. Everything else is exactly the same. It still has 24 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage, so nothing else is changing in terms of the configurations. It's just that the screen is getting slightly bigger and better with better controls. Now, in terms of the performance differences, I have made a chart for you guys. So this is at 35 watts, 1080p, and you know, it shows you the three different chipsets and as you guys can see, we have three different chipsets. The new G3 Extreme is in the green. In the middle, we have the older Z2 Extreme on the left in blue, and we have the AI Max Plus 395 processor from AMD on the right. So at 35 watts, this is the kind of performance we should be expecting from these chips. Now, the G3 Extreme chip is not out yet. This information may be slightly different when it actually comes out and we can do tests with it. However, with some videos on YouTube showing you the performance, there is going to be around 10% FPS difference from the G3 Extreme and the Z2 Extreme. So, for example, in Battlefield 6, if we get around 40 FPS in the Z2 Extreme, At 1080p 35 watts, we should be expecting around 50 FPS on the G3 Extreme, so about 10 FPS difference. The 395, however, at 35 watts is going to outperform both of these, so this is a more powerful and overall going to provide us with much better performance even at just 35 watts. Now remember, the 395 can go up to 120 watts in certain handhelds such as the OneXPlayer, OneXFly Apex, so this performance can go even higher if the TDPs increase to more than 35 watts. So unfortunately the G3 Extreme is just going to be nowhere near as good as the 395, especially at higher wattage. So I was expecting a lot more from the G3 Extreme. However, it is what it is, and at least is better than the Z2 Extreme. By the way, the Z2 Extreme here is, the numbers here are going to be similar to the Claw 8 numbers. So in case you're wondering how good is it compared to the previous MSI Claw XAI Plus, these FPS in blue is going to be the same as the MSI Claw XAI Plus. So let's have a look at the numbers. Black Myth Wukong, 50 FPS on the Z2 Extreme, 56 FPS on the G3 Extreme, so about 10 to 15 FPS difference. Same thing on Cyberpunk. Oh, that's surprising. On Cyberpunk, we are actually getting better performance on the G3 Extreme. However, these are just numbers I generated from AI and also from watching a few YouTube videos. And this may not be accurate. However, I think once the chip comes out and we look at the actual performance numbers, you are going to, at least based on my research, there will be around a 10 FPS difference. So for example, in Forza Horizon 6, if you're getting 42 FPS on the Z2 Extreme, you're going to get around 50 to 54 FPS on the G3 Extreme, but more than 60 FPS on the AI Max Plus 395. On Shadow of the Tomb Raider, if you're getting around 60 on the Z2 Extreme, you will get around 70 on the G3 Extreme and over 85 FPS on the 395. So at the end of the day, the G3 Extreme will be about 10 FPS better than the Z2 Extreme. However, it's not going to beat or even come close to the 395. With regards to the pricing, the Claw 8 XAI Plus is confirmed to start at around $1,500 US. In the UK, about £1,500. The Predator 8 doesn't have any price, but I'm guessing it's going to be around $1,600 US. The OneXPlayer 3 also doesn't have a price, but I think because of the 8.8-inch OLED display and the detachable controllers, the 3-in-1 design, is going to cost over $2,000 US. The Xbox X20, I think, is because it's a bundle and it comes with the XR glasses, the fact that it has a bigger 7.4-inch OLED screen, I think overall this is going to cost around $1,700 to $1,900 US. And there is a video from an Intel engineer, and the video is on Gamer Nexus. So in this video he shows you a few different graphs with regards to the performance we will be getting from the G3 Extreme. As you guys can see in these slides, he shows this graph in which at 1080p with 2 times upscaling in supported titles at 35 watts versus AMD Z2 Extreme with this 2 times upscaling, we will be getting around 42% more FPS on average compared to the Z2 Extreme. So if you look at the graph here, in certain titles, for example, Black Myth Wukong is going to give us around 27% better performance. Now to me, this graph doesn't really make much of a sense to me, because this is with 2 times upscaling enabled. I don't really know exactly what that means, but maybe it means the games were running at a lower resolution, but then they applied Intel XeSS 3 upscaling. For example, maybe the games are running at 720p on the Intel handheld and upscaled twice, so basically outputting 1080p, whereas the AMD was running native 1080p. So to me, these numbers don't really make much of a sense, because the Intel chipset is running at a lower resolution. The only reason why it's getting better FPS is because it's been upscaled. So to me, I don't really look at these graphs, because this is just probably a marketing scheme to show you that it's better, but when in fact it's running at a lower resolution. So that's why I decided to make this graph, because this is more accurate in terms of the FPS differences that we will be seeing on the Z3 Extreme. So at the end of the day, it is going to beat the Z2 Extreme and the Claw 8. However, it's not going to beat the 395. And even though the performance difference isn't as big as I was expecting, at least we are getting around 10 FPS more. Plus the fact that Intel chipsets, such as on the Claw 8, are very energy efficient. I'm pretty sure this new Intel chipset will also be very energy efficient, meaning with the 80 watt-hour battery that we will be getting on the Claw 8 and on the Predator 8, plus the fact that we are getting 85 watt-hour built-in battery on the OneXPlayer 3, the battery life we will be getting overall is going to be absolutely amazing, even more than what I was getting on the Claw 8, which by the way had the best battery life I've ever had on any handheld. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.